Hey everybody, today we are going to talk about some of the cheapest synths currently available. Not fancy Behringer Model Ds, Volcas or Roland Aira Compact, but a collection of sub $100 instruments for broke people, Scrooges and relentless bargain hunters. We will discuss the pitfalls of penniless hardware jamming and music production, go through setup ideas and finally try to make some music.
Behringer JT Mini. Regardless of whether you are a Behringer tribalist or the mere mention of Uli B gets you triggered, a video like this wouldn't be complete without a piece of music tribe gear. To keep all this as close to the reality of synth noobs as possible, I just ordered a random analog synth from their second cheapest product line and ended up with a compact take on the revered Roland Jupiter 8. The main reason I didn't pick one of the even cheaper micros is the better connectivity and UI of the obviously Volca-inspired minis, which are available in the $50 to $100 price range. Vintage synth name dropping aside, we are dealing with a prototypical analog synth. 3 oscillators allow for very limited chord playing, mainly because there is only one filter, turning the instrument into what Reddit regulars call a paraphonic synth. You can, however, switch these oscillators to somewhat hairy sounding unison with variable detune. But even in the mislabeled poly mode, the thick PWM feature is a welcome alternative to the otherwise wimpy oscillator section. The aforementioned filter can be switched between 12 and 24 dB. The 4 envelope sliders are great if you actually want to learn how an ADSR works, and the LFO can be set to R2D2 friendly sample and hold. It is not always easy to play the modern questionable internal keyboard, so the basic arpeggiator and 16-step sequencer with motion recording and a few additional tricks up its sleeve comes in handy. There are no FX. The MIDI and sync facilities are of utmost importance for reasons we will talk about in a bit. Korg Monotron delay. Speaking of which, although the little Monotrons punch above their weight sonically, they are devoid of any MIDI, CV, gate and sync connectivity. You have to play the little $50 Kinder Surprise synths using a microscopic ribbon controller. This is the delay version, so all this doesn't really matter anyway. We are going to use it to add a little chaos with grainy feedbacks, noisy dub FX, dirty LFO modulation, drones, and just in case you don't mind a little additional noise, okay, it's a lot of additional noise, you can use it as an actual delay effect for other instruments. Pocket operator PO33KO. While teenage engineering's concession to poor people looks even jankier than the little Korgs, you can sync them to other gear using the 2 PPQN analog standard, a lingo the Behringer synth is fluent in. I opted for the PO33KO version, which can be regarded as the precursor to the more professional EP133KO2, because it is basically a lo-fi groovebox with melodic tracks, drum kits,
sampling capabilities,
and a 16-step sequencer with pattern chaining. Even if you put this bare bones hipster gimmick into one of the stylish enclosures, the workflow is far from ideal, but there aren't many pieces of gear in the price range below $100 that can be used as a drum machine and allow you to sync to other instruments. Feel free to leave a comment if you know any alternatives that you can buy new. That being said, the punch-in effects are great for fills and breaks, and I personally like the crunchy bit and sample rates. You can also get one of the other pocket operators capable of spitting out drum sounds. But being able to load custom samples is nice. Whatever FM1. There is always someone willing to do it cheaper, which is not necessarily a bad thing. For around $70, TeamU/AliExpress will send you a DX7 compatible, fully programmable 6-operator FM synth with a multi-FX section, yet another arpeggiator, and, you guessed it, 16-step sequencer for the 12 voices of polyphony. Connectivity is minimalist, so we will have to find a few workarounds for use in a larger setup, but there's an internal loudspeaker, battery and Bluetooth connectivity. The manufacturer also put a similar sound generator into a generic MIDI keyboard, which goes for around 100 international synth credits. Thanks to Tom of Synth Anatomy for lending me these potential future classics. Akai MKIII Mini Play Mark III. We have an analog synth, some noise, there's basic sampling and drums, and no shortage of corny 80s FM tones. So the missing piece in this video is, of course, real sounds. You know, pianos, acoustic drum kits, canned synth staples, strings, horns, and the like. The cheapest yet somewhat professional option I found for this is Akai's MKIII Mini Play Mark III. I could get my dirty hands on a B-stock model for €98, so I think that still technically counts. The MIDI controller-like little keyboard provides a surprisingly nice sounding set of sample-based patches, most probably derived from a generic general MIDI sound set. Multi-timbrality is limited to one keyboard and one drum pad channel though, so no vintage game soundtracks today. You can drown the sounds in reverb and chorus. There's a usable filter with an envelope, utilitarian bass and treble EQ, and again an arpeggiator. You will have to make do without a sequencer, but MPC-style note repeat might offer some workarounds. The internal speaker is decent. We are, however, facing some grave limitations when it comes to DAW-less jamming. The only way to control this thing from an external source is USB, so we either have to play it by hand or cheat a little bit.
It's no secret that professional instruments are not only defined by the actual sound. Build quality, reliability, connectivity and proper documentation are just as, if not more important than tone itself. Let's see what people on a budget have to go through to make a setup like this work.
If you want to use the little Behringer beyond normal couch noodling, you will have to make yourself familiar with the Synth Tribe software. In its current state, it didn't work properly on my Mac, so I had to dust off an old PC for mandatory firmware updates and sync setup. After setting the pocket operator to sync mode 2, clocking it from the JT1 worked like a charm at 2 ppqn. Keep in mind that analog sync doesn't include information on where you are in the pattern, so don't forget to reset the sequencer of the PO to the first step each time you stop the setup. The analog JT is dry as a bone and sounds a little thin. I'd suggest factoring in some extra money for a multi-FX unit like this affordable Zoom. The PO sounds great. My original plan was to use the Chinese FM keyboard as a MIDI clock master for the Behringer, which to my chagrin didn't work. Its more compact sibling fit the camera angle better anyway, but also refused to comply with whatever sync I threw at it, rendering the internal sequencer useless for this application. This is where I had to start cheating and switched to Ableton as a master clock for the Behringer and sequencer for the FM synth. There goes my DAW-less setup. While we were at it, I loaded the DX7 factory patches to the FM1 using Benny Sparrow's hyper awesome browser librarian, added a longer pattern in Ableton triggering sounds from the MPK drum channel, and cursed Korg for making so many top shelf instruments that sound worse than a Monotron delay.
Making music with super affordable gear is absolutely possible, but quite obviously not always convenient. While the sounds are mostly fine, the main challenges are workflow and integration, a big motivation killer, especially for beginners. Is it worth buying the cheapest of the cheapest? Fiddly UI aside, I enjoyed using the pocket operator and Monotron, but you definitely want to get an analog synth further up the food chain. The Akai Rompler is great for what it is, and the tiny FM synth is an interesting take on decks in a box, only a few firmware updates away from being fully usable. I am, however, looking forward to playing some normal bad gear again. Hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to like, subscribe, become a patron, and use one of the links down below to support the channel regardless of what your gas commands you to buy. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Honorable mentions.
It goes without saying that there are plenty of alternatives, both new and on the used market. Donner's B1 is an interesting contender to analog Behringers in that price range. And speaking of, the almost legendary TD3 is available for just under $100 as well. I'm not an expert on stylophones, but they worked for David Bowie, so they might as well work for you and are cheap as chips. When it comes to used gear, old boss Dr. Rhythms are hard to beat, and quite a few synths in the $100 to $250 Euro-Pound price bracket like IK Multimedia Unos and of course Volcas might fit your budget even in this economy. If you want to be obnoxious but Soma stuff is too expensive for you, try an automaton, and I personally can't resist the temptation of trashy 80s and 90s 19-inch rack gear. Whatever you do, stay away from the Akai MKIII. Thank me later. Thanks all my patrons for supporting the channel, and welcome to the monthly shoutouts. Tempera is more expensive than all the gear we've seen today combined. Maybe for a reason. Tier 4.
Greg Lane.
Sean Wolf.
Different creatures.
Voodoo people.
Calvin
JHVA.
FADEC.
Red Confetti.
Calcium.
Lord Righteous.
Candy Shaver.
DJ Venn Diagram.
Thomas Diefenbach. Brian Gregory. Marinus Quillenhoven.
Tier 6.
The village Roland.
Again, thank you so much for supporting the channel. See you next month.